Dum 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 diddy doo. We are going to be going over the Azorius Aggro deck that got 5th place at the Star City Games Richmond. And I copied this list exactly, and I've played some games with it. And this one I played 11 games with. I only won 4. So that's a lot worse than the one I expected. So it's a 36% win rate. I expected this deck to be the best one out of the ones I've done so far, because I played with Azorius Aggro or Mono White Aggro in best of 1 last season, in April season, and got top 1000 Mythic with Mono White, which is basically a similar list to this. Except for the Law-Rune Enforcer was the Snubhorn Sentry, and I think I had like a 3-3 split instead of 2-4. And of course no Gideon. I think I main decked the one that gives everyone +1/+1 indestructible. And that's a card I really wish I had in several games here. But here's a list, and it's very similar to all the other white-blue. Why's my sideboard only 14 cards? So here, I don't know if this is error, but his sideboard only has 14 cards. I don't know why that's probably an error, but I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize that till now. Till I'm going over and I see only 14 cards. I just copied and pasted and played with it. So this, I mean, you could run an extra copy of, maybe a negate's missing, or a 4th Dovin's Veto, I don't know. Yeah, so Dauntless Bodyguard protects some stuff against Wrath. So it effectively has indestructible in that after a Wrath you stay with 1 creature, and Dauntless Bodyguard lets you choose the creature you keep. Law-Rune Enforcer is good against all the aggro and mid-range decks. You can get past the Rekindling Phoenix, or any other Wild Growth Walkers, miscellaneous blockers they have. Skymarcher Aspirant is a 2-1 for 1 that gets flying a couple turns in the game. Legion's Landing is probably one of the best cards in the deck against control, because you can make a 1-1 every turn. Now this isn't so good because a lot of control decks are running the Liliana or the Ugin that makes a 2-2 every turn, so the 1-1 just loses to the 2-2. And at best it trades if you can find a way to give it +1/+1 either through Venerated Loxodon or the Benalish Marshal. But it's still good. It's just not as good as it was before all the Planeswalkers came into this set. 2 Adanto Vanguard and 4 Tithe Taker. These I see a lot of people switch up. Sometimes they like more Vanguards, sometimes they like more Takers. They're both good against control. Safe. Adanto Vanguard is safer against removal, and Tithe Taker is better against counter spells. With the new Teferi, I think the Adanto Vanguards are better because a lot of decks are choosing to run fewer counter spells, if any, because all counter spells in their hand after a Teferi resolves, the new one, the 3-mana one that your opponent can only play spells at any time they can cast a sorcery, so that just turns off all counter spells. So people are running fewer counter spells, which makes Tithe Taker not as good. But Tithe Taker does survive after a Wrath. But Adanto Vanguard can too, and the 4 life is pretty irrelevant against control decks. They're not trying to race you down. 4 Benalish Marshal, this is very good. It makes everything stronger. Makes all the 2-1s and the 1-2s 3-2s, or makes all the 2-1s 3-2s. Vanguard becomes a 4-2. Gideon was very underwhelming. It's like a 3-mana 4/4 that they can attack and kill. The +1 wasn't really relevant. It'd be relevant with the indestructible, but I'd often just be putting it on something with lifelink just to get damage through. Not get damage through, because I can often just block it and I'll just gain a couple life. And like I said, I'd much rather have Unbreakable Formation in this deck than Gideon, because with the formation you can just attack with everything. You often have more creatures than your opponent, so you can get a bunch of damage through, and then you can still hold up and be fine and not have to worry about the crackback. And hopefully they'll be low enough for lethal next turn. History of Benalia, it's very good. Pretty much all mono white decks run it. You make some 2-2s. So the Bodyguard and the Marshal also get buffed from the History of Benalia Knights. Conclave Tribunal, this is better than Baffling End in the main deck, especially because of all the Planeswalkers. You can often either convoke it, or if you just have enough mana, just play it and take out their Planeswalker or a key blocker. if they have more than your Law-Rune Enforcers can handle. And Venerated Loxodon, it's similar to the Benalish Marshal, except once they kill it, all your stuff maintains a +1/+1 counter, and it's good for getting your guys big enough to be able to attack through for lethal. Because often you can get like 2 or 3 creatures through, but if it's only like 2 damage each, that's not great. But if you have this and the Benalish Marshal, it's only those 2 creatures that were going to deal 4 damage. Now they're doubled, and now they're dealing 8 damage. Now onto the sideboard, we have 2 Baffling Ends. This is good removal against stuff like Wild Growth Walkers or Chain Whirlers. So you bring these in against other aggressive or mid-rangey decks. 2 Tocatli Honor Guard. This is good against Wild Growth Walker decks mainly because it shuts off the Explore, which shuts off their card advantage and shuts off their life gain as well. Disdainful Stroke, this is good against Control. It gets Kaya's Wrath. Doesn't hit Cry the Carnarium, but Dovin's Veto hits Cry the Carnarium and Wrath of Kaya. And Disdainful Stroke also hits other creatures, so like Rekindling Phoenix and other stuff like that it can counter. Deputy of Detention, this is good against other decks where you can often hit 2 for 1, or it's just more removal, like the Conclave Tribunal or the Baffling End against creatures, and it can potentially hit multiple creatures. One Ajani, this is good against Control. It lets you just get some of your guys back. Either it gets 2 creatures back, or you can, go -2 plus it, -2 plus -2, and so on and so forth. And just every third turn you get a creature back. And 1 island, I take a planes out and put an island for this if I'm bringing in any blue spells. Because usually you want to bring in both of these at once, or this, and then either one of these. So you take out a planes and add the island. And like I said, the list on MTG Goldfish only had 14 cards on the sideboard, which I didn't realize till just now. So this is the 74 I've been playing with. And yeah, I've been disappointed. I just found that you often get outvalued, especially by the new Kasmina, who gets 2 2/2s and they get to loot their hand. And so, yeah, a lot worse. With a lot of these decks, I realized I probably need to play more games to get a better sample size, and to actually learn how to play it. Like I said, this deck I was hopeful for because I basically played with this, except I'd swapped out these for the Unbreakable formation, and these were the Snowborn Sentries. Apart from that, this is the deck I got Mythic with last season.